Devils Monday. This is The Woo Report. The Woo Report, episode 418. Coming to you live from the Primetime Radio Studios inside the bunker in an undisclosed location in beautiful New Jersey. Presented by Crew Brew. Streaming live on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, X Live, and Twitch on the Let's Go Devils Network. Lots of things going on in the past couple days. Devils have today, tomorrow, and then Wednesday they play the Detroit Red Wings right before Thanksgiving in Detroit. Hello, Ted. Hello, Rebel Soul Wanted. Art Heaton. Yo Peeps, says Steve Engel. Surprised Steve Engel has made it to the Woo Report after his Jets lost again. But that's okay. I'm not a big Jets fan at all. But yeah, so I got some random thoughts about the New Jersey Devils. Hello, Michael Hay in the Facebook Live. I've got some random thoughts because yesterday's podcast, which was kind of hijacked by Beer Baron, just needing to rant, and I echoed that sentiment as well, about that social media picture of, let's just say, the New York Rangers group sales through the Devils got them a picture out on the ice. Well, here are some of my other thoughts, because I didn't say too much on the Sunday podcast, but, it could have been worse. They could have been giving us the bird in in that picture, but they didn't. A lot of Devils fans, including myself, were in uproar about the Devils season ticket people or Devils group salespeople doing this. And let's just put this in a perspective. And I'm going to try to be fair here because this is what we do here on the Woo Report. You don't know if this was a charity fundraiser because it is Hockey Fights Cancer Month. It could have been for that. They couldn't really pull that off at Madison Square Garden, so they had to do it at Prudential Center. Okay, fine. But the optics really don't look good, especially after you lose. So, again, what's the solution? Some say, well, why don't you get your own Devils fans in your own building and do the same thing? Have a picture out next to the Devils logo. But why reward the Devils management with some bad behavior of selling to actual Ranger fans where they can pull that off? Now, some random thoughts here. Why can't we? You could join our crew and Crew Brew. Join our crew. We can always do a garden invasion. How we're going to pull it off, don't know yet, but those are my random thoughts. How about a garden invasion at American Whiskey in Manhattan, which is a couple blocks away from Madison Square Garden? There's some games at Madison Square Garden. March and April. We still got time to plan it. Why don't we get on the ice, on the garden ice, on their logo? John Sumner likes a garden invasion. Yeah, so do I. The podcast travels, which after Thanksgiving we'll have our Crew Brew tour schedule. We had a lot going on in the first 6 weeks of the season that we didn't really, the beer thing just came to us randomly in late September. And somehow we were able to pull it off. So, Crew Brew, you can order it at any of your liquor stores in New Jersey, at least. Be delivered, Crew Brew. And, it's good beer. The reviews have been good. So, we're going to release a tour schedule. I'll give you a little of some of what we're doing. At American Whiskey, we got Happy Festivus. We might go to Tampa end of January. Got to work out the scheduling as well. Maybe we'll be at Amalie Arena in Thunder Alley. We'll let you know. We've got the big tailgate. We are planning it right now. We don't have much information, but the big tailgate for the outdoor game as well. Ted's asking me if I'm going to be at AW this Friday. No, I will be there this Saturday. Beer Baron scheduled at American Whiskey on Friday, on Black Friday, when the Devils take on the BJs, the Blue Jackets. I will be there on that Saturday. And Moose is coming. Yes, Rebecca Morse is coming as well. She's going to be at American Whiskey beforehand. John Sumner says, we need to buy up all the tickets for Devils Rangers at the Rock. Never have to deal with this embarrassing BS I saw on Saturday. I agree with Beer Baron on his rant last night. Well, here are some other rants that I have. And, you know, I talked to my season ticket holder rep about it. And I just said, like, you know, a couple words. But it was a perfect storm on Saturday. Okay, it was a perfect storm. Because, well, the Rangers wanted, and their fans wanted to win that game so badly because of what happened Game 7 last season. The Devils fans, we were just kind of nonchalant, caught off guard, let our guard down. Middle of November, traditionally, New Jersey Devils fans are after Christmas fan base. We're from New Jersey. It's a family state. Kids got football, and then it transitions to hockey, basketball, and, you know, you've got field hockey. You've got all sorts of sports going on, kids' sports. But on a Saturday night, I get it. The Rangers fans did show up. The ones that were there were really drunk. But here's where I had the problem with these concession stands being closed, a lot of them, for the rebrand of Levy restaurants. Like, I got to tell Levy restaurants, your strategic planning sucks. Okay? I'm sure you guys are good with food. I love food. You love food. We all love food. We all love service. But why do you couldn't you do this in the first year if you're not ready? But use the existing restaurant equipment you have and just start serving food. You missed your deadline and just kind of figure it out along the way. I don't understand the planning, but just the optics don't look good. Just like that picture on the ice of all these Ranger fans. Like I said, at least they didn't give us the finger. But it just doesn't look good. And then you've got a very hard, let's just say, not an easy barrier of entry to get your food, but it was easy to get alcohol. Empty stomach and alcohol don't mix very well at a Devils-Rangers game with both fan bases. Not a good idea. I thought maybe somebody would be smart enough inside the New Jersey Devils and Prudential Center to realize, you know, this is a big game. We might want to step it up, especially security. Seeing a lot of the videos online of drunk Ranger fans, some of the stories that people are talking about, some of the drunkenness that happened at the Rock. And this stems back from last season when the Woo crew member got sucker punched. What exactly happened afterwards? Nothing. So right now, it's open season at the Rock. That Ranger fans, their perception right now, subconsciously, is thinking, we can do whatever we want with this fan base. Just like how any other NHL team can just push the Devils around out on the ice because nobody is responding back. There's no deterrence of this stuff. And it's getting worse and worse and worse. And I beg to ask the question, and again, this is Random Devil's Thoughts. That's the theme. That's the title of this podcast. But is Joshua Harris spread too thin to, well, own the 76ers? They're putting in a new arena. They're trying to wipe out a community to do it in Center City, Philadelphia. Are they spread too thin because now the Devils are max payroll at this point and can't even get the concession stands right? And at the Commanders and Giants game, the players didn't have any hot water or any water at all in a stadium called FedEx, whatever field or whatever they want to call it. It's pretty embarrassing. It's almost like a Mickey Mouse organization, which coincidentally, 40 years ago yesterday, that Wayne Gretzky made the call. Maybe he was a prophet, Wayne Gretzky, talking about 40 years later when the owner of the Devils can't provide hot water for his Commanders and New York Football Giants after a game. I know. I'm just a little sarcastic here, a little humor, trying to connect the dots. You don't have concession stands open. What the heck were you doing all summer? New Jersey Devils? What were you doing all summer? You had all summer to figure this out, and now you want to renovate? Oh, our focus was on the lounge because we sold so many club tickets that we had to screw over season ticket holders on that upgrade perk, so we had to do it. I hope somebody got fired for all this. I know it's a happy problem to have from a business perspective, but my goodness, not having concession stands open? Why, is Levy Restaurant so embarrassed of Legends hospitality before that they just got to rip everything out because it was so bad? I know the team is probably taking a hit revenue-wise by not having these concession stands open, but it's a bad optic. It looks pathetic. Just saying. Now, you want to talk about pathetic, let's talk about the New Jersey Devils and their defense. I don't know if this team can really play defense right now. It's going to take time. But one guy I really want to talk about is Dougie Hamilton. He has a monster contract. He's a liability on the blue line defensively, because we're talking about defense here. We're not talking about his great offensive talents, his size, which he doesn't use defensively, but he uses his size offensively. But Dougie Hamilton on defense, there's where you got to start. You got to start from the top. Short-handed chances going the other way when the Devils are on the power play. Dougie Hamilton doesn't play real good defense. Times he looks lost and awful out there. Just saying, when you're paying $9 million a year long term on that contract, you may want to rethink this one. Is he tradable? Would another team take that contract? And obviously there's got to be some no trade clauses. I haven't even checked. I'm sure he has some kind of control, or maybe he has all control. But Dougie Hamilton needs to play a lot better. A lot better defensively. Colin Miller, finally back, getting some playing time after being injured. Will the Devils make a trade to Calgary? What kind of assets do they have to take Zazarov to New Jersey? That's a good question. A really good question. What kind of salary cap do you have to play with? What does Calgary have to do to make it work? Does Calgary want to even trade to New Jersey? But it's not just one player that's just going to make a difference. It's the whole team. It is the whole team. It's a team concept when it comes to defense. I love defense. We don't see enough of it. Luke Hughes actually is not the main reason the Devils are so bad defensively. He's actually held his own for the most part. John Marino, there are times where he has some lapses. But there's times where John Marino is looking so damn good out there. We need consistency. Jonas Siegenthaler, what has he done? But Dougie Hamilton and that big contract is very hard to ignore. He's a high-risk, high-reward defenseman, but he doesn't really play defense. And maybe that's part of the problem. Maybe he's a liability. Maybe Lindy Ruff should alter the system a little bit. Steve Engel kind of agrees with me. He says, you figure a professional NHL defenseman would have some idea to play defense, but I've never seen any as bad as Hamilton at it. No, he doesn't do much defensively. Hate to break it to you. I like Dougie Hamilton. I love the commercials he makes with the Devils. Some of the things, funny stuff he does with the Devils. I think he's a good community guy. I think he's a good teammate. But he's got to play defense. Can somebody teach Dougie Hamilton to play defense? I think that's what the Devils should concentrate right now is just defense. They've got some injuries right now. Timo Meier seems to be short-term. Nico Hischier back in practice, but still no timeline or timetable when he's going to be back. Noshik taking that awful hit from Jacob Trouba, where the Devils, I don't know, it's been months now and you haven't responded physically. I'm not saying to injure the guy, but my goodness, you got to send a message. You can't just allow teams to just take liberty on you because you know what? You're going to get hurt. And the Devils are so fragile as well. They are fragile. We talk about Beefalytics. It started off as a joke, but it wasn't a joke. I've been talking about this for the last 4 years. They've got a lot of great stuff on paper. The analytics, all that stuff. Stuff that Joshua Harris and David Blitzer love. They love the analytics because they can control the numbers. They can manipulate. They can make things better. But there's a problem. The sport is hockey. There's the human element that's always involved with great hockey teams. Great leadership. Determination. You have the will to win. The grit. I talk about Sidney Crosby. Remember that little cheap shot? Sidney Crosby is a little pest, but he's very nonchalant about it because he's Sidney Crosby. But you wouldn't know it, but the guy's ruthless. And I love how Jack Hughes is speaking his mind at these press conferences, that we're not hearing cliches. To be honest with you, I don't think Jack Hughes really freaking cares at this point. He wants to win. It's his legacy. He takes his legacy so seriously that he's not going to allow that to happen in his career. The BS type plays, sometimes laziness out on the ice. That's why he said to sharpen up. You got to sharpen up. That's leadership right there. And those are some of the positives. But right now, if you don't know how to play defense, you better have a lot of offense to cover it up. But I don't think that's a sustainable way of winning. We want to win. It's easier to shut down the opponent's offense than it is to put goals past the opposing goaltender. So let's start there. The Devils' power play, not a problem right now. This is a very, very happy thing. But I'd rather have a number one penalty kill than a number one power play, because the penalty kill can demoralize mentally the opposing team. When you can shut down their offense, where you can shut down their counterpunch, you can shut down their morale. This is why I love defense. This is why I love goaltending, because the opportunity to say, no, you're not going to score on me, I'm going to make a great save, says Vitek Vanacek or Akira Schmid. To me, this is why I love hockey. John Summers says Jack is the man. Love, 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 love his directness. Yeah, and that's the Jersey way. Remember, you're playing for the New Jersey Devils. New Jersey is tough. New Jersey is a pain in the ass. You got to have that mindset. You can't be so passive. Nobody is passive in New Jersey. This is Jersey's team. What the heck are you doing allowing Jacob Trouba to take out your players? He took out Timo Meier. He took out Nosek, and no response. Where the hell is PK Subban when you need him? Being sarcastic there. But you got to respond. You got to have that junkyard dog mentality. When Jack Hughes lost his tooth in the playoffs, he was a madman. And he continued that. Going after Aho in the Carolina series. You didn't expect that. That's been inside Jack Hughes for a long time. But now that he has a few years in the NHL, he's showing the real Jack Hughes, how he really feels. Like those exit interviews from last season after the playoffs. He wasn't happy. I love it when Jack Hughes plays pissed off. I love a pissed off Jack Hughes. Matter of fact, I actually like a pissed off Devils fan base that picture on the internet kind of broke the back of the fan base, the New Jersey Devils. It took that picture to get us all fired up because we were all pissed off at the game. Even us fans should hold ourselves accountable. That should never, ever, ever happen. But let's stop complaining. We're going to figure out our own garden invasion. We're going to figure it out. I've done a garden invasion years ago where we packed, was it the Blarney Rock or Blarney Stone? It was next to, I think it was Stout, somewhere on 33rd, 34th Street. I forgot. This was years ago. I dressed up like Martin Brodeur in goalie pads in 2005 to Madison Square Garden with about 50 to 80 friends that wanted to see it. And we walked down the streets of Manhattan. And I'm in my goalie gear. And I actually got through security, which I still don't know to this day. Everything was strategic because we looked at the Giants were playing the Eagles that day. So that was kind of, dilute some of the Ranger fan base. I got handicapped seating with a friend who passed away years ago, but he had the wheelchair access so I could fit in the seat at Madison Square Garden. And we won like 7-3, and it was all Devils fans cheering. It was a lot of Devils fans. This is when the Rangers were in their down years. And then I ran into Alex Brooks. Remember that guy? Used to play defense for the Devils. But yeah. Be part of the solution both on and off the ice. We'll let Lindy Ruff handle the on-the-ice solutions. But off the ice, Devils fans, we got some work to do here. We got some real challenges in front of us. You've got a fan base across the river called the New York Rangers that really don't respect us. And what do you do when you're from Jersey? You punch back. And that's what we're going to do. It's not going to happen overnight. There's no silver bullet that's going to change things overnight. But have an Ant Crew brew, 21 or older, and join our crew because we're going to have a movement here. Enough's enough. I'm not going to rely on the New Jersey Devils management to figure this one out, their marketing department, whatever. But we can do it on our own. We can do a Garden Invasion. We could do it our way. Art Heaton says their arrogance and disrespect has no basis. I'll never understand it. You know, I have this theory about Ranger fans. They don't watch hockey. They just watch the Rangers, if that even makes sense at all. Let me repeat that. They don't watch hockey. They watch the Rangers, or the Rangers is what they call it. You know, when they really would get obnoxious in the stands, they're like, let's go Rangers. And they get really obnoxious. I remember one time at the old Meadowlands, some crazy Devils fan threw a beer at one of the Ranger fans who was acting up all night. Probably deserved it. But let's just say he didn't. I remember him getting up and yelling at me, you guys are really, really classless, gutless fans, you know, blah, blah. He's going on and on. He's like, this beer thrown at me, that would never happen at the Garden. Or no, never happen at the Garden. And it's like, stop it right there. No. That stuff happens all the time at Madison Square Garden. Trust me on it. I can't tell you, when I had the Brodeur gear on, how many beers that were thrown at me. But you know what? Secretly, I loved it. Because I got under their skin without saying a word. I just wore goalie gear into their arena, and Ranger fans would, because I was in handicapped seating, and remember, this is going back before the renovation in the mid-2000s, and I had Ranger fans whispering in my ear about, oh, you like sleeping with your sister-in-law. All this grotesque stuff. But I didn't say a word. I just wore my goalie gear, my Marty Brodeur gear. I still have it. Still have the mask. Maybe I'll do it again. If we get a Garden Invasion, I'll go again as Marty Brodeur. Inside of Madison Square Garden. And I remember some Ranger fans just say, look, I'm a big Rangers fan. I hate the Devils, but I got to give you a lot of credit to have a lot of balls to do what you're doing. And good luck to you, man, because I don't think you're going to make it out alive. And actually, this is a true story. So after the game, getting out, in the goalie gear, we win 7-3, something like that. I think Gianta had 2 goals in that game. We're in the goalie gear, and my friends came, and there were 3 Ranger fans throwing a lot of stuff at me. And it was a scary moment, but one of my buddies who's a Devils fan, brought his friend who was a Rangers fan. He actually defended me and punched one of the Ranger fans out. So it was Ranger fan on Ranger fan. And it was all this chaos. And then they just all left because no security was coming. And, of course, security says, sir, you're coming with us. I was like, I didn't do anything. as I'm in my goalie gear. And he said, "Oh, we know you didn't do anything, but you don't want to go out there because they're about to kill you. Why don't you come over here and take the elevator home?" I'm like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah, we know you didn't do anything." I was like, "Okay." Now, Madison Square Garden security is world class because they try to diffuse the situation. So they led me to the elevator and I left. But as I left and I got out of the elevator, guess where it led me? It led me to 33rd Street, and a bus of Japanese tourists happened to be there, and they all wanted pictures with me while all the Ranger fans were filing out, yelling, screaming at me in the middle of Manhattan. But guess what? We got under their skin. That's beefalytics right there. We got under their skin without even firing. I didn't even say one curse word at those Ranger fans. I got them so pissed off by wearing the goalie gear in their building, and as we beat them, we won. Both on and off the ice. And that's what we need to do. We can't be as passive as this Devils organization and the players right now. Maybe it's the fans that have to get really aggressive in a good way. I'm not encouraging violence or anything like that. That's the disclaimer. What I'm saying is there are creative ways to get under their skin without going over the line. And the creative way is to show up and do your thing because that's what you do. If that makes any sense, I don't know. But those are my random thoughts tonight. But the Devils, right now, if you want to talk a little puck, because I know we're going off a tangent. Look, they got Nico Hischier back practicing. They've got Jack Hughes, still being Jack Hughes, putting up points. They just got to play a little defense. Attach that to their wonderful power play. At the end of the day, all you have to do is score one more goal than the other team. But wouldn't it be nice demoralizing the opposition if you actually had good goaltending to go on with a great defense? With that power play and the amount of talent that's at the forward position right now. That's why I'm calling out Dougie Hamilton, because he's making the most money on that blue line. I expect better. We expect better because we want Dougie Hamilton to do a lot better than he is right now. None of this sissy crap. Use that body of yours, 6'6" frame, and destroy somebody. John Summers, any word on Meyer? I think he's short term. I'm not worried about that. But that's all I really have to say tonight. And remember, join our crew, and Crew Brew, where we make winning memories together, one crew at a time. And that's what we're going to do. So we're going to, after Thanksgiving, we'll have our Ant Crew Brew promotional tour. The Rangers suck fortune cookies on January 6th. You get to celebrate my cultural heritage on Asian American Night, or whatever they want to call it, at The Rock on January 6th at 8W. Got to make those fortune cookies for you guys. And, yeah, as what Ted says, football's over for Steven. Yeah. And thank you, John Sumner, saying it's a good rant. But it was needed. You know, some people like my rant, but I don't rant for ranting's sake. I rant because I mean it. And I'm still pissed off on last Saturday. You know, maybe I shouldn't even say this, but as a podcast, Saturday, when you're on the big stage and you see a sea of blue and you have Rangers fans really screwing with you, not good. Especially after the game. Not good. But remember, in the heat of the battle, I'm going to end on this note because this is very important. Because the podcast, neither do nor I or anybody in the podcast condones violence, especially at these games. They're not worth it. It's stupid. But sometimes things get heated. You see the YouTube videos all the time of Dallas Cowboys fans getting slaughtered by 49er fans in the parking lot. You see a lot of these YouTube videos, a lot of violence out there. If you're ever in the heat of the battle, like we were against the Rangers in our own building, a couple things, how to control your temper. Me, if I'm mad, and I've talked about this analogy, and I told Scotty about this. Scotty and I had a philosophical talk after that Devils Rangers debacle last Saturday afterwards. But if you're ever in the heat of the battle and you're about to lose your temper is like gasoline. Do you want to be combustible and explode? Or do you want to use that gasoline and drive 50 miles to where you need to be? So think about that. When you're in the heat of the battle, Devils Rangers, and you really want to punch somebody, or something happened where you really want to hit back, just remember, you got to be smart and creative about it. Just like how it was at Madison Square Garden with my goalie gear. I just went in and cheered for my team, and I annoyed the piss out of all those Ranger fans the entire night without even shooting one word at them. You could do it. You just got to use your head. And remember one other thing. If you're really mad, here's a little trick that I do. Again, I have experience back in the old days at Madison Square Garden of pissing off Ranger fans and getting away with it alive. The other thing you do, sometimes when somebody comes up to you, yeah, Devils suck. You know, we saw your building. Let's go Rangers. 94. Mark Messier, best captain ever. If they ever get mouthy to you, that's what you do. It's a little trick of mine. You kill them with kindness because it's so unexpected that they don't want to be the person that's really, really, really hitting the person that's really being nice. It starts to soften them up. And then what's really funny about that is that when you leave and part ways after being really nice, saying, oh, yeah, you guys played well tonight, blah, 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 and you start to be reasonable, it pisses them off even more because they can't even say anything. Trust me. Try that method. It works very, very well. And my last method as well is when all else fails, just remember, karma does all your dirty work. Don't even do anything. You never know what's going to happen two years later, that Ranger fan. Anyway, that's all I have to say today. I said a lot, probably a lot that I shouldn't have, but here on the Woo Report, episode 418, presented by Crew Brew, Random Devil's Thoughts. Thank you to everybody tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I know Ramona Rice loves the Woo Report. I haven't seen Ramona all night, but that's okay. We love Ramona. Ramona Rice, big shout out. Joseph Lindham says, hey. Yeah. And let's see. John Sumner's still pissed. That's why I appreciate your message. Yeah, I appreciate you, John Sumner. But yeah, we're going to head out of here. And another Woo Report tomorrow sometime. Don't know when. I know Steve Engel wants a schedule. So we're going to give him a schedule. We're going to give him the Crew Brew promotional tour schedule so he knows where we're going to be. Maybe one day we'll get Super Chat out of Steve Engel. What time tomorrow? Yeah. Give me a Super Chat and I'll tell you. How about that? Anyway, just kidding around with you, Steve. Thank you to everybody. Thank you to Ted, everybody, Michael Hay. Also, big shout out to David Decker at Town Toyota in Ledgewood, New Jersey. If you ever need a Toyota, go to David Decker and tell him Sam Woo sent you, because he'll get you a good deal on a beautiful Toyota automobile. Alrighty, thank you. And make sure to drink your Crew Brew where we make winning memories together, one crew at a time. Till next time, this is the Woo Report. Let's go Devils.